Today I'm going to talk to you about finding solutions to stress and how stress affects you from narcissistic abuse. If you stick with me to the end, I will give you strategies on coping with the stress from a narcissist. There are 3 categories on how stress can affect you. It is emotional, mental, and physical. So, an emotional effect of chronic stress is anxiety and fear. The narcissist is unpredictable in their behavior, and sudden mood changes and devaluing you, for example, causes a state of uncertainty and a feeling of on edge and hypervigilance all the time. Then there is the chronic stress and the physical effects from narcissistic abuse. Your body is in constant fight, flight, freeze, or fawn state. It is flooded with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. This causes health problems in the heightened nervous system, and it can also worsen existing physical conditions and physical health problems. Then there is the mental effects from narcissistic stress, and that is self-doubt and confusion. The narcissist likes to use tactics like gaslighting, which is projecting their feelings onto you, causing a state of confusion and self-doubt. The victim comes to question their own sanity and judgment. I had this where I couldn't even trust my own decisions and judgment, and the narcissist would say, "Oh, I never said that," when they were completely lying. And after a while, you begin to wonder, are you going crazy? Do you not remember things properly? This is an example. Hi, my name is Maria, and I'm studying to become a life coach specializing in narcissistic abuse and trauma recovery. I hope my videos are helpful, informative, and validating for you, whether you have been or are in narcissistic abuse, or whether you have a family member or friend who is or has been in narcissistic abuse, or maybe you have a friend or family member that is a narcissist, or a boss, a colleague, a roommate. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. So I'm going to talk to you about the physical effects from narcissistic stress. The first one is chronic fatigue and sleep. The issues in this hypervigilance state causes insomnia, restless sleep, nightmares, and deep exhaustion that is not relieved by rest. In my worst abusive relationship, the guy would keep me up all night, and then I had to work the next day. After I left him, I could only sleep 2 hours a night, and I'd wake up with a jolt and couldn't sleep anymore, and I'd have night terrors. This is an example of that, and I was extremely sleep deprived. Thankfully, I'm not having those problems now. So the victim may have aches and pains with persistent muscle tensions, including in the back, shoulders, neck, and jaw areas, causing headaches and migraines and widespread aches. I have still this problem. I get a lot of pain in my neck and my back, and I was so stressed on the last weekend, that I had to have an emergency massage. This is what prompted me to do this video. Thankfully, I don't get the headaches like I used to. But I also have problems with my jaw and clenching because of stress. And that has caused me to have TMJ, which is a condition where you have pain in your jaw, and sometimes when you open and close it, it clicks, and it's painful. Another example of physical effects is gastrointestinal distress. The gut can be very highly sensitive to stress and chronic abuse, which causes stomach pain, nausea, appetite changes, and irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS, and other digestive problems. I certainly had IBS, the irritable bowel syndrome, for 5 years. I cured myself by taking pre and probiotics. That can be helpful for you. You can also have a weakened immune system, causing you to get frequent colds, viral illnesses, and skin rashes. Then another possible effect is brain fog and cognitive impairment. But consistent stress can affect the structure of your brain and actually physically change the brain and the brain's function, leading to difficulty concentrating, short-term memory loss, general feeling of brain fog. I certainly have had this and do have this still at times, and I tend to forget what I'm talking about in the middle of a conversation. It is highly frustrating. And if I have to remember 3 or more things, I forget. So those are examples of how it can affect you. Another possible physical effect is hormonal or autoimmune issues. Generally speaking, autoimmune issues are caused by trauma and stress. There can be autoimmune diseases and you can have ups and downs in those heightened problems, and you can get type 2 diabetes and thyroid problems. That can cause weight gain. I would like to do a video on the weight gain from narcissistic stress. Physical symptoms are very real under the body's natural response to prolonged, unpredictable, and highly stressful environment. Now I will talk to you about emotional effects. There is also the possibility of chronic anxiety and fear, which I already covered in the beginning of the video. And then there's possibly symptoms of depression and hopelessness. When you have had constant criticism, belittlement, and emotional invalidation, you lose your interests and activities and you once enjoyed, and struggle with feelings of hopelessness and despair. I have shared many times how I love to hike, and during this time, as a prime example, I lost complete interest in it, and all hobbies of any kind. Didn't want to be involved in any activities. Thankfully, I've reclaimed myself. Again, I have my last long-form video is about reclaiming yourself and from narcissistic abuse, and I have a link below for that. There is grief and shame. I definitely want to do a video on grief and loss. When you get into a relationship with a narcissist, they love bomb you. You think you found the ideal person. Then when they start to degrade you, then you start to grieve that you did not get this ideal person, and it's actually quite the opposite. And that is a point of grief and shame. This can lead to intense feelings of guilt, shame, and self-blame, making it difficult to believe the abuse was not the victim's fault or your fault, whatever, if you're a victim or someone else watching. I have seen victims believe that the relationship problems and the abuse was their fault. I even believed that at one point. Now I will talk about the mental effects from narcissistic stress. There is a loss of sense of self and self-worth from the narcissistic abuse. This is erosion of the victim's identity and self-esteem. It's all in my video of reclaiming yourself. As I said, there's a link. And then they do gaslighting and manipulation. And you start to doubt your own memories, your judgments, your perceptions. In reality of losing touch with who you are. I have a video on gaslighting as well. The link will be below. I would tell a story of my abuse, and I always said it was like the guy had a remote control to my brain. He would tell me to do something that would be very dangerous for me to do and put me in grave danger, and I would do it anyway. That's how much I lost myself. Pretty sad. One of the causes of narcissistic abuse is post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, or complex post-traumatic stress disorder, or CPTSD. It is a stress disorder caused by trauma. And when you have the complex PTSD, it is when the same kind of trauma and stress has been repeated over and over again. The symptoms of these conditions include flashbacks, nightmares, intrusive thoughts, and heightened startle response. So I want to give you an example that a therapist told me one day. Imagine you were in an African safari and you came face to face with a tiger. And it greatly traumatized you and scared you. When you left Africa, you went home and you went to someone's place and they had a tiger on the wall. Well, you know mentally in your head that tiger is not real, but somehow it really scared you. That is an example of trauma. And your body remembers, your cells remember the trauma. And it's not a mind over matter. Your brain cannot do anything with it. It's not, this is why cognitive behavioral therapy does not work. And so there's a book that I recommend called The Body Keeps a Score. I will have a link below where you can order it on Amazon. It is very helpful. And people say, well, just decide that you're not going to let it bother you. Well, it doesn't work like that. So I was diagnosed with complex PTSD, and I'll just let you know that. Another possible mental effect from narcissistic stress is isolation and trust issues. The narcissist loves to isolate so they can gain more control, but it's so very important to keep those connections so you don't lose yourself and they don't get control and can victimize you more. And the victim has a problem with trust and forming healthy relationships in the future. I have a lack of trust issues because every guy I had ever been with had cheated on me. And narcissists tend to be cheaters. I want to have a video about the symptoms of that. It's quite something. And so now I'm suspicious of people that I'm in relationship with. Quite sad. The victim can have self-destructive behaviors to cope with emotional pain. They develop addictions such as substance abuse, overeating, self-harm, eating disorders, food addiction, and shopping. These addictions are very common from recovering from narcissistic abuse and stress. The impact of narcissistic stress is a serious form of psychological trauma that can profoundly disrupt a person's life. It is very important to seek professional help for recovery and healing. I was told it was like being in a serious car accident and becoming like a quadriplegic, but all emotional. And imagine going through that over and over again. Very difficult and very hard to function in life. It's very debilitating. If you like my video and find it very helpful and informative, please like, share, subscribe, and let me know if you have struggled with stress and how you have coped narcissistic stress. And I want to hear your stories and tell me if you have any ideas for other videos. There is hope, and I will give you now the strategies on how to cope with the stress. Set and enforce boundaries. I know I've talked about this many times, and it can be very difficult, but it's crucial to try to enforce that. I have a video all about boundaries. The link is below. Stay calm and assertive. Don't try to argue. This gives the narcissist control. Step back mentally. Take deep breaths. Imagine yourself in your favorite place. Mine is walking on the beach. Do not react right away. Walk away. If you have to react, don't talk at all. This gives you some control back. Use I feel statements. For example, I feel really hurt when you call me crazy and stupid. Do not take their actions personally. They have deep insecurities and they try to hide them, and they try to get validation by accusing you or gaslighting. They have a disorder and it is not your fault. My mom always stated it to me, and it helped me. It says something about them and not about you. And you need to come to terms and accept that the narcissist will not change. Their behavior is from their problems with their disorder, and you cannot fix them. You need to have self-care. So very important. Have a strong support network in place. Very important. Have friends and family members that make you feel supported and validate you. If they make you feel worse, then you need to separate yourself from that. Nurture these healthy relationships. Seek professional help from a therapist or counselor that does understand NPD, or narcissistic personality disorder, and narcissistic abuse. The reason being is they know in their head that the cognitive stuff and cognitive behavioral therapy does not work. You need that specialization. Prioritize self-care. I can never express this enough. Nurture your mental health and physical health. Be involved in regular exercise, healthy diet, sufficient sleep, mindfulness, which is meaning being in touch with your feelings. Keep your hobbies. Journal. It's helpful when you journal to look back and see your recovery process. Educate yourself on narcissistic abuse and their tactics and narcissistic personality disorder. It helps profoundly in understanding and feeling validated, knowing that you are not crazy and that you are not to blame. I did this, and I spent thousands of hours studying narcissism, and it greatly helped me. This is why I have my videos here for you, because I have learned that this helps, and so I want to help other people stay out of abuse and be validated and help them leave. And it helped me understand a lot and made me realize that I was not crazy. And it also helped me. I wanted to learn narcissism so I'd never get in it again. I hope this helps you this way. If you should consider leaving, it's when mental health issues are extreme, such as anxiety, depression, PTSD, or if you feel like you have to walk on eggshells. And if you are in physical danger, please put a safety plan in place and find a safe place to live that they won't know about, like a safe home. There are supports out there for you. I really hope you have found this video helpful and hopeful. I will see you in the next video.